Yes, thanks for reading. Thanks to everyone who read. It would probably be practical for me to allow Joe Dubs to introduce Shanon. However, just after meeting her for 300 seconds, 5 minutes, like he'd probably say that she's honest, passionate, she's caring, she's loyal, she goes with the flow. And I believe that she has a lot of love and care. And so without further ado, Shanon.
Shanon, an addict. Kind of didn't plan on what I was going to say. I never do whenever I speak because it just kind of comes to me. I try to kind of go with different areas. I got clean April 18th, 2022. I was in and out the rooms. I was in and out of rehabs, detoxes, put myself in there. First few times, it wasn't for me. It was to get what I wanted. I knew that if I went, my mom was going to fix everything while I was in there. She was going to pay all my stuff. I was going to come home. I was going to still have all my shit. Till one day, I went to jail and she said, "To hell with this," and evicted me, and also was going to take me to court for any money that I owed that was left. Back then, I remember thinking, well, she's crazy. She don't give a damn. All this stuff. I was the victim. And so I pretty much today can look at her differently, because I honestly feel like if she wouldn't have did half the stuff that she did do by pushing me away, stopped giving me money, telling me to get out of her life, I wasn't allowed on her property, she was calling the police, I probably would have never gotten clean. But I also didn't start using until I was 32 years old. I was around it my whole life. My brother has been in and out of prison for the last 29 years. And he just got out again 3 weeks ago, and he's right back out there. And not only is he back out there, his wife that never used is now using. Her story is very similar to mine. And they got my 5-year-old niece running around with them, which is going to cause damage in the long run there. And I can see where I did damage to my own kids, having them. They were young. They were 7 and 3. And kids, you would think they wouldn't remember a lot of things, but my oldest now is 16, and she can remember more than I can remember. And my youngest is 10, and she was only 3 and 4, and she can remember things that I can't remember. And they're like little sponges when they're that little. And what it does is it can create more trauma to where eventually they'll end up turning right into us. And I know that just from having parents that were alcoholics. My grandmother, when I was 9, she went into rehab for crack. She never picked back up again after the rehab thing. But, most people don't say, "Oh, my grandma's in rehab." But that was like a lot of my story, my whole family. I've got my uncle, he died went back out, took a hit of crack, his heart exploded. My other uncle, about 2 years ago, OD'd, died. My aunt, his wife, died 2 years before him, OD'd. My dad died from alcoholism. So it's like it's been around. Every boyfriend I had was an addict, but I didn't use. I was around it, and it was just I was living the lifestyle. I just wasn't using. And then one day, my dad, when he did die, he had a massive heart attack, which they told him that if he continued to drink like he was going to have that massive heart attack. He had already had 2 heart attacks prior, but he could not stop. When he died, something changed with me. I had my brother living with me. I had a boyfriend living with me. They were both strung out. I was pretty much taking care of them. I was working 3 jobs, trying to take care of 2 kids with my brother running, my boyfriend running. They're running together. I'm running them around, helping them boost. Not even in the mix of the stuff. I'm giving them money to make sure they're well. I'm getting to where I'm stopping at the trap house to pick up their shit on the way home because I don't want to hear them bitch whining about being sick. So it was more of me not knowing how to help them in the correct way because I didn't want to see them sick. Then I started realizing I was enabling them. And then my brother, 30 days after my dad died, he got arrested. So then it was just me and the boyfriend, he was getting further and further out there. And now my dad's gone, my brother's gone. So in his mind, he can just continue to get crazier and crazier. And I had TVs out the door. Everything that he could possibly take or steal was gone. And then one day he decided that he was just going to lose his shit over a hit and take a baseball bat and start tearing everything up in my house. And he had been wanted for over a year, but I wasn't calling the police. He told me he told me, your dad ain't here, your brother's gone. What the fuck are you going to do to get me out of here? And so I wasn't like, he was like, if you call the police, I'm going to go out of here in a body bag. So I was like, okay. And I just sat down, talked to him. I went and got more shit for him to where he'd get well so I could get him in some right state of mind to be able to get him out. And I called a few of the people I knew that he hung with, because all his friends were all my friends, because I pushed away all my family and all my friends to hide my brother and to hide my boyfriend, because I didn't want everybody to know what was going on. So that day that he left, it wasn't even within 30 minutes that I was smoking crack. It wasn't within 3 hours that I was doing dope. So when I hit the ground, I hit the ground running, where most people progress from teenager to slowly going into it. I didn't. It was immediate. It was just actually the first day within doing dope. That day I was sitting outside because I knew what it looked like when you're getting ready to go out. I was standing in the kitchen. My friend was outside I don't even understand what he was doing, but he was out there spraying the toys down with a water hose. I don't know why. And so I went outside and was like, I'm not okay. I know I'm not. And started throwing up and all that. And then when I seen the water hose, I was like, you know what? I know what to do. So I went over there and got the water hose from him, sat on the kids' slide, and it was daylight. So every time I started to feel like I was going out, I'd squirt myself in the face with the water hose, which would alert me, which would cause me to throw up. And next thing I knew, it was nighttime and was still sick, was still sitting there soaking wet with water hose. And that was like my first day. And then I progressed within 2 weeks. I was using a needle. And then next thing I knew, it wasn't just crack. It wasn't just dope. It was meth. It was crushing Adderall, Xanax, anything I had my hands on, I got it. And I guess the bad thing is my brother and the boyfriend, they didn't have phones no more because either they broke them, sold them, or whatever. So all the phone numbers they had were in my phone. So I had over probably 50 to 60 drug dealers in my phone between the both of them combined. So I never had not had a place to go to get more. And also the fact that they would get fronted when I wasn't using and I always came back to pay for their shit, everybody trusted me. Everybody knew that she'll come back and pay. So I was able to get fronted all the time. And half the time I did come back and pay. But then I look at like my kids. I look back now and the trauma that they went through. I can remember being sick to where I have my 3-year-old holding my hair while my 9-year-old is wiping my mouth, rubbing my back, saying, Mommy, it's going to be okay, as I'm throwing up. Back then, didn't think shit of it. I had them in a car one time going to get something, and there was a guy on a bike on the sidewalk, and I looked over and seen he was going, but the light was green, and in my mind, I legit thought, well, I hope you stop because I'm not. He didn't stop. So I hit him, and he flew off the bike, but he didn't want the police and all of that. 7-Eleven called the police. But somehow I didn't get charged. I was pretty much, they said that I wasn't in fault. He should have stopped. So there's a lot of incidents that I went through when I was out there that caused me to believe that there was something bigger than me. I didn't think there was till I did come to NA, started working steps, and really looking back at situations that I did go through and incidents that I was in and how further out I got, and the people that I started to hang with towards the end, they didn't give a damn about going to prison. So I could set things up for people to bust in the houses and they didn't give a damn, and everybody would go in. It was basically, I guess, maybe hanging around my brother and all his friends. A lot of girls go another way And that was the way I didn't go. And that's probably because I ended up where a lot of people said the guy mentality. I have a lot of regret with things where I had my own place. I was able to keep it for a long time. I had girls that would show up and I'd let them use my bathroom to do whatever they needed to do, but they had to give me half of whatever the hell they were getting. And the guy that was coming in, you were giving me $20 before you were coming in, or y'all could just go outside. I didn't give a damn. It was, looking back, it was insane. Because now today I feel bad for a lot of them girls because a lot of them got issues from a lot of the shit they've done. I've got a lot of friends that now aren't here. But now today I went back to school, peer recovery specialist. I'm part of Region 5 crisis. I have both of my kids back. They got taken from me. And I've had them back for probably about 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And they never stopped loving me. They never stopped caring. They're very forgiving. But at the same time, a 16-year-old, she remembers more and went through more than what my youngest can remember. So she will call me on my shit. She will try to use my shit against me as well. When she wants something, she'll be quick to say, well, remember this, remember that. And it used to work. I had a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. But after working a lot of the steps, I don't have that guilt today. To where she can pull it and I can say, yeah, I sure did. That don't mean that you're going to get this or you're going to get that. And the guilt and the shame probably is what kept taking me back out, along with feeling like they didn't need me. I wasn't nothing but a piece of shit. But they were better off without me. They had their dad, which in all reality wasn't all that great. They had their grandma, and they were in a nice house. They had money. There wasn't nothing they could have ever wanted. And in all reality, all they really wanted was their mom. And I couldn't see it. I was too blind. I was too worried about whatever I was going to do next. And as time went on, I had people, my brother woohooed. I don't know if anybody has ever seen somebody to where they do dope and they start jumping up and down and hollering and screaming and beating on their chest. And apparently it's called heroin Tourette's.
Mm-hmm.
And I dealt with that day in and day out before he went back. And then I had a couple other ones, the ones that can't stay out the window and the peephole and the doors has got to be locked and you can't move and you can't talk and they can't talk. And I had other ones that hit the floor and climbed under things and hid and all kinds of stuff. And every time somebody would get ready to do that, I would hear somebody say, oh shit, here he goes. Well, the last time I ever used was I had gotten up and somebody said, oh shit, here she goes. And I stopped dead in my tracks and I looked back and I said, what do you mean? And they said, you're getting ready to say somebody's here, somebody's moved shit, somebody's been here, that wasn't there, this wasn't there. But I was so stubborn and I had to be right and you were wrong. I wasn't doing that. The hell with you. So I sat down for probably another 8 hours of using. And the only time I would get up out that chair was to go get more. Because I was going to prove that I wasn't going to go look in no damn room. I was not going to say anything had been moved. I was not going to say anybody was here or was there. And once I sat there for 8 hours and I was able to actually do that, what kicked in the next day was, number one, I was pissed because I had 90 days clean and went back out and done spent probably $1,000. Done messed up all my money again. No gas in the car because I've been running all night. No cigarettes, no nothing. Sitting right back where I was sitting before. And I thought, damn, I'm sick and tired. And then I kept replaying the here she goes thing. And I knew he was right because I had to make myself, like every time I wanted to get up to go look at whatever the hell it was I was going to go look at. It could be the closet, under the bed, I don't even know. But to be able to sit there for that long and not do that told me, then if I can do that, why the hell can't I get clean? And that was actually the last day. And and then the very next day, which is my clean date, I find out the girl that I was around earlier that day that I grew up with died. She overdosed that day. So my clean date is also her death anniversary. Then I hadn't thought about it till probably the day I celebrated. My brother's wife prior that was actually her birthday, what she OD'd in 2018 and died. So my clean date, I was like, I'm not going to lose my clean date because it represents two people that OD'd that I was extremely close to, for me to stay clean was to honor them, to not be here no more. And because the drugs took them. And everybody seems to think that it's not going to happen to them. And I've watched a lot of friends now, a lot, that are not here since I've been clean. I can say I've had over 20 friends since I've been clean that are now dead. Mm. And some of it is drug overdose, and some of it, a couple of them, is they got shot to death. So to go back out there, and I've watched people go back out, watch people come back in, and I know there's nothing different out there. It's all the same, and it's all going to end the same way. There's no hope if you go back. That'll be your life for the rest of your life until you ain't got no life. And that was one of the biggest things that I've learned. And now to watch my brother have the time he had and come home, and he came home, still had his truck, still had his own place, and then went to court and got full physical custody of his daughter. Mm. And as soon as he got it, went right out the door. And because in his mind, maybe it was overwhelmed, I don't know, or it was that celebration of, look what I did, look at how far I come, so now I can go do this one time, and I'll be okay. And in all reality, that one time you ain't okay, you're going to keep on going. You might not go then, because I was one that could go out for one day. I did for the last 2 years I was using. I would get 90 days and go out one day, and go back to NA the next day and pick up a white tag. Stay clean for 60 days, pick up my 60-day tag, go get high, come back the very next day and pick up a white tag. I did that for 2 years straight. And it drove me nuts because I couldn't understand why. Why would I keep getting that time and go back out? But then I figured it out. It was the people I was hanging around. Mm-hmm. I could not seem to let go of certain people or places. And the other thing is, too, is I left the place that I started using in, and I ran away from myself. Well, from thinking that I could switch this up. That I went to North Carolina. That didn't work. Found people there. Came back. Took off to Lynchburg. That didn't work. Found people there. Came back. Because the biggest thing is wherever you go, there you are. Yep. You will find whatever you're looking for everywhere. And they'll find you somehow, too. Yes. I've learned that. And then when I did come back here, I happened to move into the same area. I was legit 5 houses down from where it all started. So where I started using is also where I got clean. And I would have never thought in a million years that I'd have got clean where I started using. In the same exact, 5 houses down. And I told myself I was never going to move back to that place. I was never going to go in there again. I couldn't go in there again, but I did. And somehow I managed to get clean, and I stayed. But if I wouldn't have started working the steps, I could have stayed clean, but I would have stayed still the same person. I would have still stayed in that mind frame, that mindset. Certain other things wouldn't have changed for me. I would have known everything. Nobody would have known more than me. I would have still looked at my mom the way I did back then. Mm-hmm. Nothing, I can say absolutely nothing in my mind frame would ever change. And as time went with working the steps and actually looking at my part that I played and seeing that it wasn't everybody else, it was me. It was a big eye-opener. And then that's when, the believing that there was something bigger than me, because in all reality, I should either be sitting in prison right now for some years, or I should be dead. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I'm not. And do I still get the thought? Yeah. The urges and cravings after I hit 12 months, they were gone. But the thought, it'll still cross my mind when things are getting chaotic and things aren't working. But then I have to sit and take a minute to see what I'm doing that's not the same, or what have I stopped doing? And once I start seeing that I stop picking up certain things, or I stop going to meetings, or I start getting chaotic people back around me, that's when I start realizing the thoughts are coming back. And then when I start realizing it, then I know that I got to sit down and figure out what it is I need to do to change the situation, to get into the solution before I go back out, because all I have is today. 3 years really don't matter, because I can go out tomorrow. I could go tonight. It's that simple of a blink of an eye. That's all I got. Thanks for letting me share.
All right. Thank you, Shannon. Love you.